DALL-E-3 is now integrated into ChatGPT for all ChatGPT Plus users. This is what Midjourney's doing to try to catch back up. Welcome back to the AI Breakdown. Today, we are exploring the latest in competition in the image generation space. This is obviously after LLMs like ChatGPT, perhaps the most used aspect of generative AI right now, and the space has sort of been changed in the last month, given the launch of OpenAI's DALL-E-3 model and its integration into ChatGPT. Now, part of the context for talking about this right now is that as of this week, all ChatGPT Plus users have access to DALL-E-3 inside ChatGPT. And so what we're going to do today is look at the state of the conversation around these tools, and more specifically, a set of announcements from Midjourney over the last week or so that show how the perhaps unexpected leader in the space is trying to either retain that lead or catch back up, depending on your perspective. Normal caveats here apply when I'm talking about something that's inherently visual like an image generator. If you want to see what I'm discussing, please come over and check out the YouTube channel. Although, of course, I will try to make it so that the podcast version of this is still just as useful. Part of what prompted me to want to do this show today was a tweet from Nick St. Pierre at NickFloats on Twitter, who's, of course, one of the best people to follow if you want tutorials and advanced level looks on how to use these types of tools. And he wrote, "Two things I don't understand. One, Runway being valued at $1.5 billion after their $141 million Series C. Two, Andreessen Horowitz discussing putting $100 million into Ideogram at a $500 million valuation only a couple of months after a $16.5 million seed round. Meanwhile, Midjourney is out here with a way better product, millions of users, millions in revenue, and zero investors. If Midjourney decided to take money from investors, would Ideogram even get money in the first place? I honestly doubt it. But they're billing themselves as a Midjourney rival. Okay, bro." The fact that these companies need to go out and raise hundreds of millions of dollars just to have a fighting chance against Midjourney, who has raised $0 from investors, shows you just how good Midjourney is and how mad the investors are they can't get a piece of it. So first, let's leave aside the Runway comparison for a moment. Obviously, Runway is playing in the text-to-video space, which is its whole own beast and something that seems like it's going to be extremely valuable and unlock mass amounts of creativity once it comes to maturity. Of course, it's not nearly at the maturity yet that text-to-image generators are. I think the point about putting money into Ideogram because VCs haven't been able to get access to Midjourney is probably true. The job of venture capitalists is to make strategic bets on companies that are in or are leading big technological or societal change, and if one of the leaders in a key space doesn't want to take investment, it's probably prudent to invest in a competitor. But what's also interesting is this assertion that Midjourney is so far ahead. And the reality is, as cool as it is that Midjourney has now made hundreds of millions of dollars and done it with no investment and something like 40 employees, that doesn't change the fact that they are now staring down their biggest challenge ever in the form of DALL-E-3 and its integration into ChatGPT. Now, we'll talk a little bit more about DALL-E-3 and its integration in a few minutes, but let's talk first now about what Midjourney is doing to compete. One feature update is that Midjourney has introduced a new 2x and 4x upscale feature. Now, for a lot of folks, they're just using these images for fun, they're just putting them online, they don't really need that super high resolution. But others actually do, either because they're going to be printing images or just because the context requires it. This is one of those updates that's not nearly as sexy as some advanced new model, but is actually super functional and expands meaningfully the range of ways in which images created by Midjourney can be used. The feature has had pretty rave reviews from the people who have used it so far, and so although I think in the long run this is sort of one of those table stakes type features, the fact that it's here is not insignificant. Now, what's an even more noticeable update is that Midjourney has launched a new version of its website. One of the things that is absolutely crazy about how successful Midjourney has been is that all of the creation has to happen inside of Discord. You actually have to create a login for another service, which is in and of itself an overwhelming and confusing experience, and then either generate images inside the Midjourney server or set it up so that you have a bot in your own server. If your eyes and ears glazed over with me just describing that, you can imagine how it sounds to a mainstream and normie crowd. Well, the new Midjourney website is not yet an image creation tool. To create images, you still have to do that from Discord. But what it does show is how the company is starting to think about the community and social aspect of image generation. If you go and check out your profile, it is effectively a portfolio of all the images you've created. So for those of you who are watching the video, what you're seeing here is my profile, which has all of my generations. You can toggle between grids, upscales, or all. And you can see that in my case, a lot of the usage has to do with thumbnails for different videos. If you toggle over an image, you can see the prompt: AI safety versus AI progress, Tim Cook with a robot, Chinese flag on an old computer screen. These are all images that I've used recently in thumbnails either for YouTube videos or for my newsletters. Over here is neural network stylized, an image that I used for a background of a YouTube video. Then there's the image for a party invitation for my 5-year-old's mermaid Halloween under the sea birthday party, which is coming up this weekend. Some custom Magic the Gathering cards that I made for a custom design set that I've been working on for the past few years, and so on and so forth. What's cool about this is that ultimately image generation isn't just functional. It's also fun. It's a creative expression as much as it is a utility. And even someone like me who uses it all of the time for actual just hyper-functional uses also ends up getting lost spending time creating images around certain themes that I find interesting or exciting. What this new Midjourney site does is it turns it into a live look at my personality, my interests, my creations. It's not hard to see how this could be the basis for a new type of social network. Now, other things that you can do are go check out a community feed, which is organized by hot, rising, new, or top, or you can also rank pairs. Midjourney seems to randomly select 2 images and you select which one you like more. Sometimes, but not always, they're related to one another. So in many ways, what it feels like to me we have with this new Midjourney site is really the first indications of what an eventual mobile app will look like. However, this is actually not the only mobile app experience teaser that we've recently gotten from the company. As VentureBeat wrote about a week ago, Midjourney's first mobile app is here, sort of. So this app is called Midjourney. According to Midjourney founder David Holz, the app was announced during Midjourney office hours, which happen regularly within Discord, and is a partnership between Midjourney and a Japanese game company, Suzigi Studios. And basically what it is a custom purpose-built version of Midjourney that's specifically in and around creating anime-style art, also known as Niji. Now, there are a few interesting things about this. First, you don't have to use Discord for this. It comes with a free trial of 20 images, and you can actually subscribe in the normal ways that you would via any other iOS or Google Play Store app. The creative experience has all the same features as Midjourney, but organized with a very different interface, given that because they know the type of outputs that most people are looking for in this anime style, it's easier for them to custom design filters and toggles within the prompt that get users closer to the images that they actually want. They've also really optimized the community feed to help people get inspiration for their own images, giving people the ability to drag and add tokens from those feed prompts. Now, I think the way that people are thinking about this is, again, as a preview of what an ultimate Midjourney app might look like. One of the things that I think this shows off is how powerful it can be if you know roughly what type of image a user is trying to go for. Now, whether they'll be able to bring that sort of user interface to a more generalist Midjourney app remains to be seen, but it's clear that they're testing some things out. So where does this leave DALL-E-3 and Midjourney vis-a-vis DALL-E3? There have been approximately 10,000 articles and tweet threads comparing images from these different tools. But I sort of think that the image outputs aren't really the vector of competition. Instead, what it's all about, in my estimation, is the difference between prompting, which is what you do in Midjourney, and natural language conversation that happens inside ChatGPT when you're using DALL-E3. Let's walk through a quick example again from that birthday party that I was talking about. If we go back and look at my profile on Midjourney, I spent a long time, as you can see from these endless grids, trying to get something that actually worked as an illustration. I wanted it to look vaguely like my daughter, so big blue eyes and curly hair. I wanted it to not be an over-sexualized mermaid, which was harder than it seems. I wanted the jack-o'-lanterns to actually look like jack-o'-lanterns, even though they were under the sea. And I wanted it to be clear that you were under the sea. What this required of me with Midjourney was basically endless prompting. Little tweaks and experiments. Halloween underwater mermaid, pumpkins, jack-o'-lantern, kids illustration Disney. Halloween pirate mermaid, underwater Disney kids cartoon. Mermaid Halloween happy Disney animation. Halloween underwater mermaid, pumpkins, jack-o'-lantern, kids illustration display. Etc., etc., etc. Just endless combinations and permutations, rolling it until I got something that worked. Now, I did get something that worked. I got an amazing image that I ended up using for the card that I think has probably inspired at least a few of the adults in her class to go out and maybe try these tools themselves. So to be clear, it's not that I had any problem with the Midjourney results. In fact, they came back great. But just to demonstrate how different the experience is of DALL-E3, I did a version of the same experience. Instead of starting with this vague prompt, mermaid, underwater, Halloween, jack-o'-lantern, I wrote, "Could you please create a Disney-style cartoon image of a mermaid celebrating Halloween under the sea surrounded by jack-o'-lanterns?" Now, I don't like the quality of any of these quite as much as I did the Midjourney style, but they are, especially this one, closer to the actual prompt of Disney. Now, what's interesting is you can actually see the prompt that DALL-E-3 translates your natural language into. For example, here we have Disney-inspired cartoon of a mermaid in a Halloween-themed costume, perhaps as a witch or a vampire, swimming gracefully under the sea. Surrounding her are jack-o'-lanterns carved from blah, 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 blah. I didn't write that, right? You heard what I wrote before. It was much simpler. DALL-E 3/ChatGPT did the work of figuring out how to actually translate what I was looking for into a prompt. Now from there, I was able to refine again with natural language. My next request was, can we make the mermaid be a 5-year-old girl with curly brown hair and blue eyes? This is something that you just can't do with Midjourney. You can't ask it to change slightly. You have to come up with a new prompt. You can see how it translated that again into the prompt that it had written. Disney-inspired cartoon of a 5-year-old mermaid girl with curly brown hair and blue eyes in a Halloween-themed costume, perhaps as a witch or vampire, swimming gracefully. Now, this image I loved, and if I had been actually doing this for the card, I probably would have used it. But I wanted to keep working to see if we could get a little bit more out of it. I said, great, let's work with number 2. Can you change the aspect ratio to 9:16 for a card? And can you write Alden is 5 in a fun font at the bottom? This it had some trouble with. It did change the aspect ratio, but it also changed the orientation so that the image was totally sideways. I tried to fix it and it did not get it, and I didn't want to spend the time figuring out how that would work. So we went back to a square version and decided to focus again on just getting the right text in there. The first one, instead of saying Alden is 5, said 5 is. The next one said Alden is 5, just like I wanted, but the mermaid in question didn't have the cool witch hat that I had liked from previous images. So I said, great, but can we please put the witch hat back on the mermaid? Which led finally to the ultimate image, or at least the image where I stopped. Given that she's 5, I probably would have changed the Disney-style conch shell bikini, but you get the idea. The point here is that there is something so fundamentally different about being able to use natural language to refine what you are trying to get and help the system understand that it really is a tremendously different experience. Now, I still use Midjourney a ton, but this capacity to get more precisely to what I'm looking for has pushed DALL-E 3 significantly into my workflows into ways I hadn't imagined it would. Now, there is something else to note here, which is the fact that I could ask it to say Alden is 5 and it was able to do so. Midjourney, of course, does not have any text capacity, and it's one of its biggest weaknesses. Many people anticipate that when it comes to a Midjourney version 6, that is going to have to be one of the key features to keep parity with these other tools. Now, of course, this race is not just Midjourney and DALL-E 3, even though those might be the ones that get the lion's share of the attention. Adobe released its new Firefly 2 model a couple weeks ago, and it's extremely good at certain types of things, including especially photorealism, and has the benefit for enterprises of being trained on Adobe's library of images, i.e. doesn't come with the same rights concerns that some of these other tools might. I think we'll wrap there, but if you take away anything from this episode, it's how fast these image generators are advancing and how much competition is pushing them to get better in ways that outdo one another. Now, of course, there is a whole additional conversation about at what point we will truly not be able to tell the difference between AI-generated and non-AI generated, but that is a subject for a different show. For now, a big thanks once again to all of you listeners or watchers out there, and until next time, peace.